Should your iron and driver swing be the same? Today we're at Close House with PGA Professional Jack Backhouse to find out. I think when it comes to long game, a lot of golfers get confused and try and kind of do the same swing with a driver and an iron. Should they be doing the same thing? Surely they should be doing something different.
Is the driver swing the same as the iron swing? It depends, I'm afraid. You know, the answer to this question, the solution is we've got to sort of basically work it back from impact. So with a driver, to be have like optimized launch conditions, we want to be hitting up slightly, giving the club some loft to get the ball in the air. Where with an iron, we want the club moving down through the ball at impact, and we want to be de-lofting it. The impacts need to be different. Your body position dictates your impact. With a driver, the ball position's different. With a driver, the ball's forward in line with our left foot. We've got some right side bend, so my spine angle's tilted away from the target. And what that does is that presets me in a position where at impact I'm going to be behind the ball, which is going to allow me to hit up, which will give me that sort of high launch, low spin that we look for with driver. Now with an iron, the desired impact position is totally different. So we've got the ball in our middle of our stance, and at impact we want our chest and sort of center of our hips to be slightly ahead of the ball with our hands forward, which gives us that downward angle of attack, that sort of compressed strike and that lower flight. Yes, things at impact need to be different, but actually, you know, the swing might be the same. We're just setting up to it very differently. So if I've got the ball forwards and I'm leaning back, I can still have the same swing thoughts as I do when the ball's in the middle and my weight's forward. I still want my hands behind me. I'm still trying to hit it from the inside from both setups. It's just my body position's very different at address, which means hopefully at impact my body position's totally different to give us that optimal launch. As the gimbal died.
The gimbal may have died. Well, it's just flashing. If I get to a point where I'm compressing my irons really well,
yeah,
I end up messing up driver and hitting down on it.
Yeah.
How can you get around that?
You have to be making really clear and obvious and extreme changes in your setup. Just because you like hitting your irons good doesn't mean you won't hit your driver well and vice versa, but the setup positions and the desired impact positions are sort of totally different. Golfers generally fit themselves into like one or the other, don't they? Good iron player, good when the ball's on the ground but bad driver, or fine off a tee but rubbish when it's on the ground. And I think that's because people just don't understand that you have to change your setup. So when you're hitting driver, you want to be angled away, really behind the ball. You don't want to be just leaning back. You want your hips fairly centered, but you want your head back, and you're really trying to then stay behind it and hit up on it. And you can't do that with an iron because you just hit 6 inches behind the ball and fat it, or you top it every time, and you can't play golf like that. With an iron, we're trying to get into that sort of left side loaded, you know, laggy sort of impact position, and you can't do that with driver because you just squirt it straight right every time. So as soon as you pull the club out of the bag, you've got to make it, you know, go right. This is a wood. I'm hitting it off a high tee. I'm going to set up behind it and then stay behind it. If you pull an iron out your bag, you go, right, I need to get on top of this somehow. And it's just been really clear in your intention. The swing can be the same, but because your setup is so radically different, the swing will sort of end up different, if that makes any sense.
People obviously get in the habit of like doing a block of irons and a block of driver. Actually, maybe like shifting between the two and doing more one of one, one of the other will get you more into that routine, like out on the golf course where you're suddenly shifting from hitting a driver to an iron.
Oh, absolutely. Doing block practice is great if you're grinding on a technique. When you're practicing, you probably should only really do no more than 50% block practice anyway. So if you partition your balls, 100 balls, 50 go right, I'm just going to get my 7-iron out and grind on my backswing or whatever. That's fine. But then the second 50 should be, like you say, one driver, one iron, or playing the golf course in your mind. Where people are going wrong, you're right, is the transition between the two. If you stand there and hit 100 drivers, by the last ball, your driving should be pretty good, shouldn't it? Because you'll have figured out, consciously or subconsciously, that you need to be back here and you need to be sweeping it. But then if you go onto the first tee, and the first tee's a par 3, there's no way you're going to hit a good iron shot. All you've done is practice that one impact position, and then the first shot you hit on the course demands a different impact position. You definitely should be doing random practice, very clearly switching between a massively behind it driver to trying to get right on top of it iron swing. Do you want to have a go?
So ball fronting my stance.
Yeah, so you've got the ball right off your sort of front foot. You want to probably drop your right shoulder some more, angle yourself up, like your upper body away from the target a bit more. At impact, you try to return to that impact position. Like that.
Not bad.
That was a good ball, wasn't it? And then with your iron, you've got to almost quite deliberately more weight on that left foot, your upper body leaning more sort of towards the, yeah, exactly. More, you know, it's a very different setup because we're trying to achieve an extremely different impact position. Yeah. You know, one shot we're trying to launch right up into the air. The second one we're trying to launch pretty much as low as possible. And with your tendency being that sort of lean back.
Love to hit off on it.
Yeah, exactly. A great optimised for driver, but no good. Not no good, but
not as good.
Not as good with the iron.